Hello, hello, hello. Um, of course, nobody's here. Not a problem, to be expected. But I did say that I was going to be commenting throughout the year. And so I'm hardly going to break that promise on January 2nd. I have a prop here for something that I want to talk about that I'm really eager to talk about, but it is kind of late. It's a Friday night. And I've just gotten a couple moments to do this. So there's actually a couple things, and because the second topic, the one I wanted to talk about today, is actually going to be a little bit longer, I'm going to go ahead and say a few things about the other one. So as of yesterday, January 1st, 2026, um, two notable things happened impacting my world or those close to me, both going into effect on the 1st of January. So yesterday, one of those events involved, let me see if I can find, because I don't have, I didn't prepare any editing or anything like this. And I know that some of you will want to have this spelled out, but you can look for a town in Switzerland. Oops, spelled it wrong. Hold on one second. A town in Switzerland changed its canton yesterday. So if you look for a town, ooh, shite. Can we even see this? No, that's bad. Moutier. Moutier. Moutier, Switzerland. Moutier, Switzerland, officially yesterday left the canton of Bern to join the canton of Jura. And the reason I wanted to talk about this is because it is important to several people that are close to me. I lived in Jura for several years. It's where I learned French. My godson is a native son of the canton of Jura. The canton of Jura is the youngest Swiss canton. And I want to talk to this, and I just want to talk about this a little bit because I think that it's an interesting reminder to us about how democracy is supposed to work. So what happened was going back, I believe, to 1831. We have pretty much we have the modern borders of Switzerland. The external borders of Switzerland have been the same, I think, since 1803, maybe 1811. I'm getting my dates mixed up. But very early in the 19th century, the external borders of what is now Switzerland were firmed up, and there's been really minor internal shifts since. But the big one happened in on January 1st, 1979. My husband's province was born. He was already alive then, but the town that he was born into belonged to the very large canton of Bern for ever since the 1830s, and finally gained their independence. There were referenda, there was a lot, there was voting, and there was a lot of history that I can go into in a later, better planned video. But the bottom line is that the people of Jura voted to separate from Bern and create their own canton. Now, cantons in Switzerland are similar to U.S. states. But there's a lot to say about this and too much to talk about right now. But essentially, the part of what was then Bern that became the independent canton of Jura was very, very much French speaking, but most of the canton of Bern is German speaking. Jura is also historically very, very Roman Catholic, whereas most of Bern is very, very Protestant. And so what happened was they had these referenda and whatnot in the early 1970s, and finally everything was finalized, and the canton of Jura was born on January 1st, 1979, making it the youngest canton by far in the Confederation. And that separation, again, was largely on religious and linguistic lines, primarily linguistic, but still. And then the debate continued to rage because there's this sort of border. There's a border region that remained with Bern, but was French speaking. It tended to be more rural, like the canton of Jura. but it was Protestant, and back in the 70s, it elected to remain part of the Canton of Bern. I believe that the way that this played out was essentially there were referenda that were done like at the sort of cantonal level. Probably there would have had to have been one at the federal level, but I'm not positive about that. And then the citizens of individual municipalities would vote for what was going to happen to their hometowns. So anybody who does come across this video and wants to see it, wants to know more, there's a lot to say about Swiss government, and I will be talking about it all year. But suffice to say that while technically sort of barely a federation, Switzerland likes to think of itself as a confederation because it is so crucial here to keep the political power local. So cantons have far more power on almost all issues affecting the daily lives of their residents than the federal government. And a great deal of power lies at the municipal level as well. So these towns were voting whether or not to join JURA, and essentially they came up with a border, and the canton of JURA was born. Consists of 3 districts: Seigneur-Léger, la Vallée de Léman, et La Joie. And somebody's going to tell me that I was wrong about Delémont. It's just called Delémont or something. But anyway, oh no, Seigneur-Léger, I'm wrong. I'm sorry. It's called, the district is called Les Franches-Montagnes. The capital of the district is Seigneur-Léger. Anyhow, point being, there was this whole region in northern Bern that was still French speaking but Protestant. They elected to stay with the canton of Bern. And there's this city and a couple of, or there's a small city and a couple villages around it that have had this debate still raging through the 2010s. And Moutier, which is a city I've been to many times and wish them all the best. Moutier has joined Canton Jura. Now, it doesn't, if I'm not mistaken, certainly the town itself does not share any land borders with Jura. So unless I'm mistaken, unless there's sort of a township and sort of rural land that still belongs, or they've somehow created a passage of land or something, it will exist as an exclave, meaning it will be technically part of Jura. It would be a little bit like if Cleveland just voted to become part of the state of Pennsylvania, right? That's a little bit what happened in Switzerland. And so the reason I wanted to talk about this is because it might seem silly. It's almost certainly not affecting your life. But it's about identity, and it's about democracy, and it's about self-determination and sovereignty, right? So Moutier has remained a largely Protestant area, but religion has become much less significant as a factor of people's identities in the last couple of generations. So fast forward from the 1970s, a couple decades, and you have Moutier joining Jura. Now, what this means is, for these people, that, they feel more sort of culturally aligned with, the other canton. As I said, as if Cleveland decided, no, we're really Pennsylvanians at heart. And I think that this is really cool. So I want to say, aux gens de Moutier, je vous félicite, je vous souhaite que de bonheur toute l'année et au-delà du 2026. Congratulations, you did it. Jura libre. But I think this is such a great example because Switzerland is a very old country and has had a sort of special status going back to the Holy Roman Empire, and a really interesting history with the Habsburgs that nobody knows. Not even our neighbors really know what makes Switzerland Swiss. But one of the things that we have is a vibrant democracy. And when, this town can say, look, we don't feel like, this is the canton or state that represents us, we're going to join the neighbors. And you could still do that in the 21st century, I think is pretty amazing. So I just wanted to throw that out there because I think that just as we need to reimagine economics and we need to reimagine politics, and we're going to need to reimagine healthcare and agriculture and transportation, we're going to energy for sure, which affects everything else. This is a great idea for many larger, bigger, louder countries to really think about how democratic they are. How would this play in your country? Would it be possible? Would there be any circumstance under which it would make sense? Now, keep in mind, unlike the vast majority of countries, Switzerland and by extension Swiss identity are absolutely not linked to language. Switzerland has 4 official languages, and yet most public documents actually come printed in 5 languages. Passports, identification, etc. will include all 4 of the national languages as well as English, which is obviously an international bridge language. So it's an important one, but it is not an official language of Switzerland. The official languages of the country are German, French, Italian, and Romanche. And that linguistic freedom is actually the way in which language forms part of the Swiss character and the Swiss identity, right? Because for hundreds and hundreds of years, it has been the case that you keep your language when you're Swiss. We're not going to, they never tried to make the Les Genevois speak German. They never tried to make the, Berners speak French. And, even though we just kind of sort of stole Ticino a long time ago, we said, go ahead, keep speaking Italian. That's a very Swiss attitude. But then how does that affect people's ability to participate and to feel included in the civic life of their municipality or their state or canton? Well, that's a separate issue. And in this case, what we see is the ongoing evolution of democracy. And I think that's something for the rest of us to think about, right? Real democracy is a bit messy, but it should be. It should be vibrant, and that people should be able to speak. And that's the last thing to say about this, by the way. This came from the people by the people, right? It starts out with referenda, which any Swiss citizen can sort of come up with, and then they have to gather enough signatures. And it's really not that many. I'll look into the numbers before I do a deep dive video on this. But get signatures of registered voters or Swiss citizens who want to see this as a referendum coming up. Some people did this in Moutier, and I have been hearing about this ongoing process for a long, long time. I had almost forgotten about it, and then a friend of mine called up celebrating, sending me video from Moutier of the celebrations on the 31st going into the 1st. It was really quite lovely. So yeah, I think as usual, there's something we can learn from each other. And I'm not saying that this is specifically the practice that you or your country or your government or your neighbors or your town needs to adopt, but it's something to think about, right? How free are you really? How democratic is the system that you live in? How much can individual private citizens impact real change? Because those are the things that led to this, right? So imagine if, as I said, essentially Cleveland just became part, just said, you know what, we're just not feeling very Ohioan. We're going to go be part of Pennsylvania. And this was a citizen initiative, and it was people power, and the people voted, and they said, this is what we want to be. This is who we want to be. This is who we are. And I took that initiative and made it happen. And so congratulations to the good people of Moutier et à toutes mes amis jurassiens. Je sais que vous êtes tous très fiers, et puis moi je suis très content pour vous. All right, everybody. Sorry, this is a little bit late, a little bit lame, a little bit, but hey, all I said was I was going to be authentic and I was going to be consistent. See you tomorrow.